Hello and welcome to Vtuber Talk. I'm your host Jay and thank you so much for joining us this evening. For those of you who haven't been here before, Vtuber Talk is designed after classic late night talk shows. Everything here is live, casual, and the goal is to simply have fun conversations that will entertain people who are already familiar with the guest while still being accessible for new fans. Please welcome my guest for this evening, Zeus.
Hi!
Hello.
Everybody. Hi!
Welcome on in, Zeus. I'm so happy to have you here tonight. For those who might not be familiar with you already, if you could introduce yourself.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Zeus, who's Mythos, from Mythos. I'm a professor of Japanomics, fluent in Japanese, but feel free to call me Girl Failure, Zuzu, the Zeus, or Miku. Any one of them works.
Yes, indeed. And how could I not want the professor of Japanomics fluent in Japanese here on a talk show that is literally designed about yapping? So
Yeah.
I'm very excited to have you. And actually, you have some high-profile yapping scheduled for this weekend. You're going to be a guest at Power Morphicon, and actually, you're going to be on a panel with two other VTubers, one of whom I've had on the show before, and that's RYUWUNA, and you're also going to be there with Kane. And I'm not sure if they are the moderator or if they're just the fourth person that you got for the panel, but there is also a IRL content creator who will be there as well.
Yes, that is actually Connor the Waffle, who will also be joining us, because we have been watching their videos, and Power Morphicon thought that because we have been watching their videos, it would be nice to technically talk with them one-on-one. So they're the only person there, IRL. Meanwhile, every one of us are in a screen.
So
I honestly can't wait.
how did that all come about? Because if memory serves, I know that Roy and Kane are both longtime Power Rangers fans, and that you're a bit newer to the fandom. How exactly did they, one, drag you into that? And you've now done, I believe it's 7 streams with them, that this is now a running series where you watch Connor the Waffle's videos. How did that all start?
It honestly started with me having to watch Roy having to introduce Poseidon, I believe, from Power Rangers. And I thought like, oh, I want to get introduced to Power Rangers again. Because the only Power Rangers that I've ever watched was Power Rangers Samurai. And I thought that, you know, I want to go back to like learn a few things from Power Rangers. And Roy beforehand, I think it was after that, said that I would like to introduce Power Rangers to all of Mythos if he could. And when I heard that, I was like, all right, I'm in, bet. So I went and asked him, okay, when are you available to do Power Rangers stuff? Because I would want to get introduced to it. And they were like, wait, really? I was like, yeah, I mean, you said you want to introduce me.
Wait a minute,
like,
this whole
"All right,
operation was
okay."
your idea.
I did not really. It was Roy said it. I did not know
you
that
saying
it was...
that to Roy, I mean.
Oh yeah. I was like, I wanna try to do that. He was like, wait, really? I was like, yeah. I think he doubted me the first time, and I was like, I mean, of course I want to try it
A
out.
mistake he wouldn't make twice.
No, he made that mistake 3 times. Don't worry. Still ongoing. But yeah, as I was saying, we went and started it out, and he brought in Kane as well to hopefully help out to explain much more in depth, and that's where it all started. And here we are now.
Here you are, now getting ready to do a panel at a convention. I remember, because I tuned into one of the early ones, that when Roy was on the show, we definitely talked Power Rangers quite a bit. That's something that he has always held very near and dear to his heart. And I don't remember if it was when he was on the show or at other times, but he has always mentioned Power Morphicon, because for those who aren't familiar, that is the go-to Power Rangers fan convention in North America. And that somewhere along the line, I think it was like the 2nd or 3rd stream you all did together, that one of you sort of tossed out the idea of like, boy, wouldn't that be cool? That'd be neat. If only, that maybe. And I guess you decided to sort of take that leap, put it in a panel application, and here you are. Sometimes things do just work out that simply.
Actually, the funniest part was that we didn't apply.
Oh.
The actual organizer of the convention was watching Roy's stream.
Oh, that's right. I remember. Yeah, there was a clip of this.
they were watching Roy's stream, and the three of us were just reacting and having fun. We also saw that they were there, but we honestly just wanted to react to the content that Connor was giving to us, and they were basically introducing me. I think from what I believe, it was already, we are at Zeo. We are at Zeo all the way after Zeo. So by then, they were just introducing me while having to know that Power Morphicon is there. And then out of nowhere, Power Morphicon said like, "Excuse me, Mr. Kane Knight, if you would please look at the email that I sent." And it all started there, and the email got
That's right. I
got like
completely
introduced,
forgot about
yeah,
that.
announced to us.
What a cool moment. Of just being like,
It was,
oh,
yeah.
so guess what, folks? I guess we've been invited to a con.
Yeah, it
That's
was
just-
live on stream, and Roy was like, was very, very surprised. And the fact that they also invited me, somebody who doesn't know anything about Power Rangers, also got invited. But because like they enjoyed the synergy of me, Roy, and Kane, that they wanted to invite me as well. I was like, oh goodness, thank you so much.
Frankly, I think that says a lot about the con of, one, they are keeping an eye on just content creators in general, and two, that they are going to be open-minded, that VTubing has certainly come a long way in the past couple years, but we still have some strides to make. We still have some folks to enlighten as to, VTubing is not actually that different from other types of content creation, and sort of bringing down that barrier, but also just from a marketing standpoint, they want Power Morphicon to appear accessible to new fans, that no, you do not necessarily need to be someone who grew up with the series. You don't need to know everything inside out and backwards. And to have someone who is in that, middle learning phase of, okay, you're somebody who knows Power Rangers and you're in the midst of getting deeper into the fandom, and that you're able to still be there as a panelist, and that they're sort of welcoming and saying, hey, folks, even if you're not necessarily a diehard, that you can come to Power Morphicon, and that can be sort of that step in your Power Rangers fandom journey. So I'm really excited that they were able to reach out to you, and that I'm really, really hopeful that you all will have just a fantastic panel this weekend.
Thank you. I really hope as well. Again, I think that is one of the things that I guess motivates me to do whatever that I do. Because if I can somehow push somebody to, how do you call this? To want to do something new, to watch something new, or to go back into doing something that they couldn't do because of a lot of things that happened in their lives that we may never know about. But then because of watching me, or watching Roy, or watching Kane, or watching any other VTuber that is very, very passionate about what they used to love, slowly go back to what they love doing, is such an honor, I would say. And I guess this also goes with I know that sometimes having to go through like those old like childhood TV shows, sometimes the work conditions are not the best. We all know this. From like Disney to Power Rangers, Saban stuff, they are not that paid well, or does not have good
There have been
contracts.
entire documentary series
Yep,
about
sadly,
such things.
Yep. But what I will say, nothing will ever replace the fact that these actors or these people that portrayed certain characters have literally helped a lot of kids grow up, not only to learn lessons, but to literally be like one of the main people to forge or mold who they were and are as a person now. So I think that is such a big honor. And the way that I see VTubing is the same way, where sometimes people are not in the best like scenarios, or not in the best conditions, and sometimes you just need to watch people to brighten their day. And sometimes they really do resonate with that person to the point that they'll watch them every other time, to slowly watching them every single day, and then to the point that maybe they'll get the mannerisms, they get to like try out what the VTuber or this content creator likes, and then slowly learning to enjoy things that they never got to enjoy anymore because of circumstances. And I think that is such a amazing motivator and amazing, I would say, pro to doing what we do as content creators. Again, I feel like somebody can literally just be inspired from hearing this interview of you interviewing me or me having to be interviewed at all. And I think that is really, really cool.
Absolutely, and that's
Mm.
very much what VTuber Talk is designed for. That this is not some 60 minutes hard-hitting interview. I'm not asking questions about drama and such. That a lot of the conversations on the show, very deliberately by my own design, are about people's passions, the things that people are able to just nerd out about. They're able to go on happy rants because for not only me, but obviously the guest, and that for anybody who's watching, that hearing people talk about things they love is fun. And that it's very easy to get people to talk when you ask things that they're passionate about. That I could just sort of blindly ask you, okay, what do you think about random series that I like? And maybe you haven't seen it, and then that's not necessarily going to be getting you or me on any actually functional or entertaining conversations. But if it's something that the guest likes, that I as the host can learn some things, or just frankly feed off of the positive energy, and when my guest and I have something that is a shared interest, then we just get to yap about it all day long, and that's really all this is about. VTuber Talk is very, very simple, frankly, and that the panels that you see at conventions, whether it be a Power Rangers convention, an anime convention, that's what those are about too, that you are getting people together who are very passionate about either a specific fandom or perhaps an art form, and getting them to talk about those things that they love. Sometimes it's an area of more academic expertise. Sometimes it's just people doing fan panels, and you have all of these different things in between, and that I in general just really, really, really like conventions, and I'm always happy to see different niche ones. That are you going to get 50 Power Rangers conventions across the country like you have for anime? No, but I'm glad that there is the one, and goodness knows, I glanced at that guest list. That's a lot of past actors. My goodness.
Yep, there are so many. But at the same time, the fact that they are willing to go back to this convention every single time to meet the fans who are so passionate about the series, who are so passionate about the character that they portrayed, says so much already. And I think that that is very, very cool. And I really do hope that they keep on going back and back and back. I hope someday that I get to go there, like IRL. I'm not the type of person to go to conventions anymore due to me being very socially awkward and me being very anxious as well. But the fact that I'm slowly opening up because of the job that I have, which is VTubing, I get to talk with a lot more people, to yap with a lot more people, to talk about any type of thing that I want, that I want to try to slowly open up again and hopefully meet new people. Not like actually like meet them to the point that, oh, we become friends, but like meet them to just in the sake of just meeting them, to just have fun, to go outside and go to conventions again and buy some fan art if I want to, local merchandise and stuff. And I guess having to try out, just getting to do cosplay again. That is something I've been wanting to try to do. I actually bought like another cosplay last night.
Oh?
I bought a set cosplay last night. They're not a full set because the wig is from a different cosplay, but because that cosplay is not in stock right now, that I cannot buy that one. And the one that I wanted to buy, the actual fit, is in stock, but the wig for it is not in stock. So I kind of just mixed together both of them, and I think they would look great.
Modern problems call for modern solutions.
Exactly. Why just have like, two sets when you can mix both of them?
Yeah.
Also, it's cost effective.
Yep, exactly.
It is. Yep, definitely. So I want to go back to hopefully doing cosplay, and I guess having to be more confident in what I look like and what I wear as well. Because one of the things that I am very scared about is having to, I guess, show who I am. But of course, I don't want to dox myself. So like, if I ever am showing my cosplays or anything, it won't show the face, but it will probably show most of the fit as much as I can. So yeah, definitely will try to put that up as just a little hobby thing that I want to get back into, other than having to collect figures or having to do embroidery or any other hobby that I have currently, such as baking, but I still have to buy an oven because I have to move soon because I'm gonna be a homeowner soon.
Well, hey, that's
Still
a
wild
very
to me.
positive reason of having to move.
Yeah, but it is wild to me that I'm gonna be a homeowner. I actually expected to be a homeowner by what, next year? Because my uncle, who is actually going to help out with it, because again, the job that I have is very unconventional, and the way that we're doing it is because he has a more stable job. He's the one who's going to apply under his name, so that the company or the government was like, all right, you're a pretty decent person that has an upstanding job. We'll give you the house and everything like that. So once my uncle pays for it, I'll pay it back with the money, and then he'll like put like a bunch of documents on the table, and then I'll have to sign so many things for the house and lot to be under my name. So technically, the government would think that it would be under their name, but it's actually under my name, and I would be the one paying for it. So a loophole. But again, no one tell the government.
Practical applications. Everything that you just described is legitimately, not sarcastically, legal. That's just, because of how banks and such work and credit scores and blah, 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 that process you described is very logical, and that I'm very glad that you're in a position where you have someone who's able to sort of aid in that process and give you a bit of that leg up, because goodness knows those types of things can be very, very difficult.
Yep, it can be, especially with the job that we have. Imagine having to imagine having to tell the banker or like somebody that you're getting a house to is like, oh yeah, my job is a VTuber. You're just like,
financial
like,
institutions barely understand the concept of content creation, period.
Yep.
Trying to explain VTubing is probably a lost cause that I would expect. It's probably easiest to say, yes, I do content on the internet, or I am an entertainer. And that is still technically true, but I'm going to simplify those things for your classification, because trying to bother, I very much would expect most people in the finance industry to look at that and say, I don't know what this is, therefore it is illegitimate, therefore your loan is denied.
Yeah, sadly, that is the thing that happens every now and again. So, again, thankfully, because of my uncle having to help out, that it will be much easier. And they're going home at around October and November. So by October and November, I'll be getting the house by then, and we'll be moving. So I'll probably won't be streaming for like a couple weeks because I'm going to move. But I already told my audience about this ahead of times, and they're pretty much happy with the fact that I am going to be moving. I'll be buying furniture as well. I think the only thing that I have to actually bring is definitely the desk, the CPU, and everything else that is for streaming. I think that is the only thing I will bring. Everything else is technically my grandmother's belongings. Because currently I live with my grandmother. I live with like my grandmother Gaia, and this is technically their house. So
well, thank you, Grandmother Gaia, for housing Zeus. And I'm very, very excited for that move of yours. Also, Rusty Robot Factory in the chat has very good phrasing. Online media consultant. Yes, that sounds nice and professional. That could work.
Yeah,
also,
that could work.
Thank you to All Knowing Cheese and Captain Noki VT for the follows. Welcome on in.
Yay, I also see Yomi in there. Hi, Yomi.
Yes.
Hi, birthday.
Oh,
happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Also, your birthday. Yeah, so your birthday. Happy birthday. Also, I don't burn the house down when I bake. I promise you, I bake really, really well. I bake really, really well. I promise you. I have a lot of people that tried out my baked goods before, and I think their favorite is definitely my dark chocolate muffins. Those are their favorite. Yeah, because it's not incredibly sweet like most chocolate. They like the fact that it is literally mild. There is chocolate in there, but it is mild enough for anyone to actually try out and eat. Even for like my friends is like, let's just say grumpy grandpa who doesn't like sweets, says that they prefer my muffins. And I was very surprised when they told me that.
Nice.
Yeah, I want to do baking streams someday. So if in any case, the laptop gets funded on my throne, and this is not just this is not a plug-in, I promise. I'm just saying this as a matter of fact that like I just want to do baking streams because I want to show how I can probably make, I don't know, like cookies, like my mascot cookies would be really nice, or VTuber mascot cookies. I would be really nice to do as a series, or maybe just baking in general because I like having to go back into my hobby. It's been a while, and that'd be really nice.
Do you have any favorite recipes? Just either ones that are either memories for you or ones that you always think turn out particularly well?
Other than the dark chocolate muffin, I would definitely say me having to try, attempt, and fail at having to bake a pie that is based on Undertale. Because
Oh.
I
Oh.
remember when I was very active with baking, I was into the series Undertale and wanted to try out their, I think, cinnamon butterscotch pie. And I tried my best to do it, but there were so many steps that were very confusing that I think I kind of did a wrong thing with the batter and it didn't bake well, but it still managed to taste amazing. So despite the texture not being great, it tasted great enough.
Doesn't
So,
matter what it looks like as long as it tastes good.
Yep, that is true. I tried my best and I really hope to attempt it the next time. But it's also a really good memory because not only was like the game a really like big part of my life, but it also, I guess, how do I say it? Gave me a lesson to always be kind, to show mercy, to give people second chances, and to just, as much as you can, just give as much benefit of a doubt to the people you meet because again, it's much better to always give wholeheartedly, genuinely, and sincerity to a person you've never met versus skepticism and just doubtfulness. Because, again, you never know if this person is actually a good person, but I would say always believe in them being a good person because if you don't, then I think that is just a sad way to look at the world where every person you meet is just going to be a bad person,
Absolutely. And just goodness knows Undertale has meant a lot of things to a lot of people. It's been so cool to just see that game really explode onto the scene and just become almost what felt like overnight a mainstay in gaming. And the fact that we do have, I'm blanking on the name of the spiritual successor to it that has 2 episodes out, and it's completely Deltarune. That's it. We have Deltarune, but that Undertale is a single standalone game. The graphics are so simple. Toby Fox, I will say, is a generational talent in melody writing. But
yes, they are.
It's just such a simple, beautiful game. And the fact that we're now, I believe, about 10 years in on it, and it doesn't show any signs of fading into memory, that it's really maintained itself so well. Goodness knows it's aged immaculately. It's just,
it did.
You don't see games like that every day.
You don't. Yeah, that is true. Where a game literally like pulls it up in your head where like you have to just be kind, you have to be pacifist, or else like if you try to do it the most like, conventional gaming where you fight every now and again, that's not the way to do it. You just have to treat everything in that world with kindness because sometimes we're just robbed of that every single day. It's just, you just have to be kind to people, guys, you just have to be kind with people. And sometimes, like, you're not expecting something, and then out of nowhere, they'll just give something back to you. Not saying that you should be kind because you have to receive something at the end of it all. Don't do that. That is bad. That is a bad way of thinking. I'm just saying that, like, the workaround is just surprising with how, like, you're just having to be kind to a person, and out of nowhere, they are kind to you back. And I'm just like, oh, wow, okay. That's wild. But that is how the world works, technically. Be kind to others, and they will be kind to you. Yeah.
Yep.
It's a good lesson to live.
I've certainly found that, being kind, like you said, you should never enter into something looking to get something in return. But I'll certainly say that being kind certainly has always just felt optimal anyways.
Yeah. But it's kind of hard as well because there are just some days or you see something on the news where the only solution is if you would have been kind, but people are not like that. And I'm not the type to like talk about drama or anything, but having to see those dramas happen where the only solution is having to just be civil, to talk, to be kind, to be respectful, and they are missing at least one of them always because emotions get to them or they're jealous or something else that they have as an agenda. And it's just sad to see that a lot of people just don't want to be good for other people. They will always strive to put fuel into the fire. And that's just sad to see, honestly. But as always, of course, I would want to try to make sure that I can be a positive motivator, a positive, like, comfy corner to the community that I have, as well as to the VTubing space, because I know that sometimes there are a lot of things that happen in the VTubing space that is not nice, is not good, and as much as possible, I like to at least give as much kindness back to not my own community, but to all other community and the friends that I've made along the way in this like journey of mine, because kindness does so much, and it not only like helped me to see a lot of things different, but it also kept me going. So if it weren't for the kind people that literally supported me from the start of this journey to the end to right now, then I would have been like a way different like person on this talks.
Absolutely.
I may sound as though like it sounds like naive or something like that, where it seems I'm still like believing that the world is like all rainbows and unicorns. I don't. Sadly, I don't believe it's like that anymore, but I would like to have the hope that it can be.
There's a difference
So, yeah.
between optimism and approaching things with positivity and blind naivete, certainly. And that I very much agree that, you have to be cautious. You need to be sure to protect yourself. But at the same time, things can just be simpler and often wind up much, much better if you do just approach things with the kindness and understanding and just communication and perhaps that tiny little bit of maturity. And there's a lot of messy things in life and the world. And will things ever be perfect? Goodness, no. But
Yep.
at the very least, you can control yourself, and that if you can add, just your own little bit of positivity into the world, your kind actions, that those little things do make a difference, and that, butterfly effects of one action leading to another are very, very real. And that will it necessarily be you saving the world? Probably not. But that you can do a lot of good along the way and certainly have a lot of fun, positive experiences of your own in the process.
Yes, that is true, definitely. I would say I wanna at least like not a legacy, but I wanna at least have like this footprint in the world where I manage to do at least some good. Like maybe a charity stream one day, or maybe having to host a big like collab that a lot of people had fun with, and they somehow like grew a lot more connections because of having to meet a lot of people there. I just want to at least have this space to do something worthy of, I guess is the type of wording I would say, where I want to make a difference, but not to the point that it is like a big difference, cuz honestly, I'm not that big. I'm just here. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just here streaming.
Well, I think you've certainly been making a good start of it all, that you've been around as Zeus for less than a year now. You are approaching that first year anniversary, but you've, if I do say so myself, been quite successful, that you've cultivated a wonderful community. Mythos has already doubled in size since you and your initial gen mates first debuted, and that it seems like folks are having a good time, and that obviously you're about to move into your own place. That
Yeah.
even in real life, that things have changed quite a bit in 1 year, and that, you mentioned wanting to get out of your shell, and I think you've certainly achieved that. That, forget about being on a little talk show with me, that you're about to be at a convention, that you're, and that convention happened because you were already getting out of your shell and doing collabs multiple times with people. So I think, that goal is being met very much so, Zeus.
Aw, thank you. I don't know. It's not because I'm like, I am self-deprecating. I am the type of person that doubts myself. I am the type that overthinks. But at the same time, it's because I probably have this like thing where I'm at the front row seat of the growth that I have, that I don't think I'm growing as big. And then when I hear other people say that I'm doing well, I'm blasting through it, I'm literally going through at the speed of sound, and I just hear it and I thought, really? I feel like I'm just streaming every single day, playing the games that I like, just having to yap about anything and everything to my chat. Am I really? So there are just some times where I just think like that, and then of course I believe them, because they are honestly like, they wouldn't lie to me, and I honestly appreciate them having to say it as it is. I like when people say it as it is, than having to beat around the bush. So if they say it as it is, I believe them. Also because they are literally the friends that I have made along the way, and I really do appreciate having to see these friends of mine say these to me, because again, it means a lot from having to be a college dropout to then having to have this level of success that I did not think that I would have, because I honestly thought that I would not have any type of success, because it's engraved into my mindset that, what do you call this? That if you stopped going to school, you're not going to probably hold up well in the world. You wouldn't have a stable job, or you wouldn't have to earn enough funds for anything you want to do later on. And the fact that I still managed to somehow, I guess, spit in the face of that, it may sound crude, but it's literally close enough to it, where I technically do spit in the face of that normality, that I may not be doing a very conventional job, but I'm doing a really, really good job at what I'm doing, and I love what I do, and it may not be the first thing that I want to do, which is multimedia arts, but I enjoy what I do. I love having to yap, to play games and show people the games that I love, and to hopefully be a positive influence to a lot of people. And I want to keep doing that. I want to keep having to be a content creator, even if I have like enough time to go back to, let's just say, college again. I would always want to have to do content creation, because I like having to do it. I like streaming. I like having to just show people what I like, what I do, and hopefully it would motivate them to do what they like, and hopefully open their shell, as you said before. I slowly opened my shell to then being more open and more expressive, and having to be transparent and be honest to not just to my friends, but also to a lot of people, to my community. And again, I'm not the type of person that technically says a lot of these things if I don't feel comfortable, but I'm comfortable with saying it, not because like I'm asking people to feel bad for me, with me saying that like I dropped out of college, or this happened or that happened. I'm just saying it as a matter of fact, because it happened.
That is your life. That is what happened.
That is my life.
That is what you
That
did,
is what
and
happened.
look at you now.
Yeah. It just happened, and the point that I'm saying on this story of mine is that I did not give up with having to find a way to be successful, or to move on, or to continue my life. I kept finding ways to make sure that I get to where I can be, because having to stay in one space without thinking where you should go, is really, really bad, because if you stay in that space for too long, you'll just rot in that space until you don't know what to do with your life. And I'm just glad with the fact that there are people pushing me always to keep moving from space to space, because if I don't, I feel as though I would not get as much progress to not only improve who I am, but also improve the work that I do, the content that I do, and the connections that I have. Because, again, life is always going, it keeps moving, and if you don't move with it, you're going to stay in the back of the lines for however long. At least that's my take, that's my opinion.
And obviously, even though you are having these changes of paths and change in scenery, you're not necessarily giving up on these things. Like you mentioned, you have an interest in art, and as we'll get to very shortly, you are still doing art. Maybe you haven't done as much art as you used to actively at this moment, but that, along with other things, you mentioned baking, you mentioned getting back into cosplay, you specifically phrased it as getting back into cosplay. So that means that that is something that you did in the past, that the outfit and wig that you bought more recently is not your first outfit. that these are things that you have carried with you, and that even as you've gone through your own winding path, that you might, pump the brakes a bit on certain things or say, all right, I'm going to put this down for now, but you're not abandoning it. You're not saying, I never want to interact with this again. Far from it. You're now finding ways to connect these interests and make sure that you don't drop them, and that you've had the idea of, all right, once we get things set up with the laptop, that we can do a baking stream, and that you can make cosplay a part of your content to whatever degree you feel comfortable with, and that you can pick up these things and still have them with you, that you're able to, have your cake and eat it too, to go with more literal baking.
Yes, at some point, once I get an oven. But other than that, it's just having to, I would say the best thing that happened is definitely the time that I took a break and I went outside and talked to my friends, because it really showed how much I've been neglecting myself and neglecting my needs and wants, to the point that all I've been thinking of was working. And it's really nice that I decided that I would want to reduce my hours to have a lot more time, not only for myself, but to the people that I would want to spend time with and have fun with for as much as I can, but also to go outside, do the rest of my hobbies, and just having to start it all up again. At some point, I want to go back to like practice ukulele or like piano. Because again, I have so many of these hobbies that I tried out before that I did not get to continue due to college, due to school, or due to life having to literally be all at once, having to kick me down. But because I am getting to a more stable, I would say, balancing of my schedule and time, that I feel like I'm comfortable and confident enough that I can go back to these. Of course, slowly. I don't think I plan on going back to music related instruments until later on, when I'm comfortable with having to do my baking on certain times, or having to do art on certain times, or having to do other things in certain times, because I love having to do baking, art, gaming, having to cosplay, having to sing, and having to work, and having to do everything else. That it's kind of hard to slide in these little slots of having to put in music, put in embroidery, put in this, put in that. So slowly I'll be like piling them up to the point that, like, oh, I can put this on that time slot, I can put this on that time slot, I can put that on that time slot. To the point that it becomes second nature, that this happens every other week, or this happens every week, or this happens every time. And I think that is what I really needed to see and learn when I got my break, and when I talked with my friends over that break, that I should balance it out a lot more better, to the point that I can enjoy what I do without having to sacrifice the things that I enjoy outside of it. And that's something that a lot of, I would say, VTubers don't get to realize, because they get absorbed with a lot of their work, that they don't know what they're missing until they actually stop and reflect and realize that, oh shit, I actually need to rewind it back and having to balance out what I'm doing, because you actually get to realize way later on that, oh my goodness, this is not healthy. This is not healthy at all. And you just have to slowly, I guess, transition through it. I'm also slowly transitioning to it. But it's also because they don't get to be transparent about it, or they don't want to be honest about it, that sometimes they don't want to say that this is actually the problem when they already know that it is, because they want to keep improving, they want to keep working, they want to always one-up themselves. Don't worry, I always want to one-up myself, because I remember having to do events back to back to back on like the first couple of months in, until it got to around, I think, the 6th month anniversary, that I realized after doing the subathon that, okay, I need a break. I need a moment. It took me a week or so to literally get back on my feet, because of how much the subathon drained me physically, mentally, and emotionally, that I needed to take a break. And even then, there were times where I realized, why am I not being 100% of what I do? And it's because of that, because I'm not balancing it well. I just keep thinking of what I can do to always one-up myself. And that's not a bad thing, but don't do it every day. Or don't do it every month. It's like it's taxing. It will burn you out faster than the light you literally like started out. So yeah.
For sure.
Mm-mm.
Also,
Yeah.
Yomi, Quinley, Azuri Kaw, and Spectre9, thank you so much for the follows. Welcome on in.
Hey, let's
think
go. Welcome in.
The battle with burnout is something that all content creators, not just VTubers, battle constantly. And that, especially when it's something that is based around something that you enjoy, that people stream and do content because they enjoy it, that goodness knows it is, like you mentioned, not the conventional path. It is not the necessarily, quote unquote, most stable path, especially not in the beginning. And that as you are pushing yourself, as you are always trying to one up yourself to make sure that you are doing bigger and better things, that content in general is one of the industries, quote unquote, that is most prone to burnout. And you see it every single day, that you see people hitting that barrier and they don't even realize they're getting there until it's too late and it suddenly just the joy is gone. And if you get to that point, sometimes there's no recovering from it, that there are many, many talented people that we've seen over the years in VTubing, YouTube, other types of content that have well and truly burnt out, and they just say, yeah, folks, I'm done here. I'm done. And that you see some incredible talents just for their own good, goodness knows, step down and stop doing what they're doing. And the goal really for any content creator, I think, is to just not reach that point. And if that means, all right, we're going to take a break for a month, a couple of months, or we're going to rearrange the schedule, or as you've decided for yourself, okay, you're going to reduce the number of days per week that you're streaming, but that you can let yourself go a little bit harder on the days that you are there and keep things balanced out that way. And if that winds up being the answer, if it ends up being healthy for you, that's awesome. And if not, then I'm sure you'll reevaluate as you go. You also mentioned the idea of picking up the different hobbies and things to do and adding them one at a time. I actually have an analogy that I use myself, which is very, very similar to that mentality. And the analogy is of spinning plates. That when you see somebody spinning plates, they don't spin up 5 plates at a time. It's all right. We got 1 plate, we're gonna spin it up. And once it's there and it's stable, then we spin up the second one. Once 2 are up, you have 3, because once you have things stable, it's much easier to add 1 more thing on top than to try and start up 2, 3, 4 things at the exact same time. And frankly, that's part of the origin story of Vtuber Talk, of I'm somebody who operates really under that philosophy, and that I like having a lot of different projects, things that'll occupy my time, because I do not like being bored, Zeus. I don't like sitting around doing nothing. That
Let's go.
I need to have something to occupy my time. And that over the years, I've made different little projects, some things with friends, and that, at one point in time, I was like, all right, I've got everything stable. I want to spin up a new plate. What do I want it to be? And through various circumstances, it just so happened that the plate that I spun up in January of 2021 was a talk show, and here we are. We still have that plate spinning.
Let's go! It continues on! Let's go! Let's keep that plate spinning, and all the other plates you have. Let's go! I would say, though, I guess the reason why I got to this type of, solution and also mentality is because of the ones that influenced me, which, again, is not only my friends and family, but also the content creators that I watched before, which I think you already know most of them, which is like Jacksepticeye, Markiplier, PewDiePie, DanTDM, VG Mike. A lot of them content creators helped me out to basically realize that it is good to take a break. It is not bad to take a break. I remember them having to take a break once a month every other time when they can, but they are one of, I would say, my inspirations to being a content creator, because they are the type of people that post out content like 1 video a week, or that type of thing when Sean was doing 1 video a week back in the day. And then now they're doing a lot more other things. They're expanding on, let's just say, a podcast that they do with Ethan, or they're having to do a comic series, they have a coffee company, or they may have to do a series thing that they want to do, such as the Chase one, the Chase series. And they're just venturing out more other than just the content that they do, which is gaming. And I think that's just really cool, that because of them having to step back, realize and reflect of what they want to do, and take a break for a month, that they can have enough energy, time, and motivation to do other things that expand from what they usually do. And like Mark having to actually direct or make a movie that is the Iron Lung, or a series of Markiplier, which is like in space with Markiplier, a day with Markiplier, like who murdered Markiplier. And I would say my favorite like epilogue, quote unquote epilogue, that the content creators that I watch is definitely Felix, PewDiePie's, is because they're done with having to do like gaming stuff. Well, not all type of gaming stuff. They do Minecraft every now and again and some other games, but they are kind of closing off the book of that and trying out something new, having to draw like from scratch for like 100 days, or having to try out a new hobby to impress their son, having a son, and just having to enjoy life retired. I think that is at some point one of the things that I want to hopefully have, where I can just be comfortable, you know, be stable, and not worry that by tomorrow I need to work on something because I need to work on something. And it is something that I am slowly learning, that the stream that I do, the content that I do, it is not something that I need to put above myself. I need to always put me above it all, because if I don't put me above it all, if my condition is worse, then the content that I put out would also be worse. So it's having to learn that always, and having to have that hobby or have that habit of having to always putting yourself first, to not stop, you know, to not stop caring for yourself, to always see that if you're breaking down or if you're having to need to take a break, just take it. It's not that bad. It really isn't. Your community will always be there for you whenever, no matter how long. They will always make sure that they will support you every step of the way. And I think with my community, thank you guys for having to do that for me every single time that I decide that I want to take a break, or if I don't feel that well, or if I don't feel like I want to do this series. You guys are very, very, how do I say it? You guys are very open, understanding, and you really do put me above the content that I put out. So I really appreciate my community, my mortals, my Kumlapkins out there. Thank you guys. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for having to keep on supporting me in every step of the way. And not only that, but also having to be here, because I get to see like familiar names in the chat, and that really brings a big smile to my face. It really does.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that for you, that I very much believe that content creators curate their community, whether they know it or not, whether it's necessarily a active consideration or not, that the way that you hold it yourself, the way that you moderate, the way that you just operate your content will inherently act as a filter of sorts, because people who don't vibe or otherwise agree with the types of things that you do aren't going to end up following you, and the people that do will. And that sometimes you need to do practical pruning here and there, but that for the most part, a lot of it comes down to just making sure that you are curating your community and building a community that is what you want it to be. And that is why you hear so many content creators saying, oh, I have the best community in the world. And I think they're all right, that they have the best community in the world for them, and that somebody else's community would not be the best community in the world for you, but it's the best community in the world for them. And that, like you said, people who care about you and want to see more content from you, frankly, it seems pretty darn logical that they would be okay with you taking a break, because the simple calculus of it all for both you and them is, well, if you go down, if you burn out, then it all stops. So do you want to take a month off now and, still be going for hopefully however many years down the line? Or do you want another month of low quality streams that slowly degrade until everything blows up and then you get nothing? And then it's just gone. It's a pretty simple choice, I think, in that in the earlier days of content creation, unfortunately, it was not quite as obvious as it is now, because content creation as we know it is still very, very new, that it's only a couple of decades old, and that it's grown and, pun half intended, morphed so quickly over these very few decades that the different considerations and practicalities that existed even 10, 20 years ago are completely irrelevant now. And just the number of factors and types of things that you can do now weren't necessarily options 10 years ago. So a lot of people are kind of learning on the job right now, and that fortunately we're finally at a point where there's a lot of sort of standard learnings and understandings that we've finally gotten to. I really feel, especially in the past 5 years in particular, but that those things, as strange as it may seem, were not inherently obvious even 5-10 years ago. But that I think we're now actually seeing a lot of content creators across the board take things in much healthier directions and much more practical directions for themselves. And that's always very, very fun and just exciting to see, because the number of content creators is not going down. It's only increasing. And at the same time, we're also seeing more people than ever being able to support themselves with content. And that, like you mentioned, it's not the normal, all right, go to college, get a traditional type of degree, get an office job. But people are able to do this, and goodness knows the general public now gets all this great, amazing content that, this is not the type of thing that you would see on broadcast television. The types of things that you see on Twitch and all these other platforms weren't an option because there weren't actual platforms and distribution technology to let these talented people do these cool, fun, entertaining things until we had streaming. It just wasn't going to happen because terrestrial broadcast television, where you have 90% of the content pre-recorded and then you have some live news or some live game show or sports or something, there's not space in that for content as we know it. But as soon as streaming became a thing, you see people who are creative finally using this outlet and being able to actually get in front of people that they could have never actually been in front of before.
Yeah, it is definitely a what do you call it? An amazing development where things are slowly picking up pace, where people think that, oh, content creation is going to be the next big thing, and people are being content creators, whether on TikTok or YouTube, Twitch, any platform at all. And I just think that that is really, really cool that they're realizing that, oh yeah, I can do this. I can decide that I can do this type of content. I can be entertaining. I can have a community that can love me for me and enjoy the thing that I like, and hopefully we can spread it around and I get to meet a lot of people. And I think that is definitely a big plus that this community slash industry that we have here, which VTubing, of course, with its ups and downs, has a lot of monumental moments where it threaded the line between the what do you call it? The IRL stuff and the VTubing stuff, which is like Hololive with their like LA Dodgers collaboration. Like, that is wild. I'd never thought that VTubers would be at an LA stadium, like at all, having to sing songs and talk about baseball. But here we are. What a time to be alive.
And it's very fun to see these traditional institutions like the LA Dodgers realize, oh dang, VTubing's actually way bigger than we realized it is.
Yeah,
and
it is.
From what I hear, the biggest problem that they had was that they set up a singular merch booth because there's no precedent for this. They don't know what the demand's going to be. They don't necessarily have a way of knowing, okay, of the tickets that were sold, which ones were because people wanted to come see Hololive. That there was, I don't know if there was a code or something that they might have used to track, but that it from what I heard, the line was very long because they set up one thing.
Yeah.
They don't know, okay, yeah, a lot of people are going to be coming for this. We should set up multiple stands. And that's a learning point for the freaking LA Dodgers. And if you're teaching the LA Dodgers something, you're doing something new and big.
Yep. And that is just wild that they were like, guys, we got this big line. What do we do? Oh no.
And my guess is they're probably going to want to do it again. My guess is there's
Yeah.
other MLB teams, other NFL, other sports teams looking at that and saying, "Oh, dang, there was that many people that came in for that game just for that." So
Yeah.
maybe we should do something like that.
Yeah.
Hmm?
And not only that, but Hololive would get a lot more sponsors outside of just Japan or the normal like content stuff, which is, I don't know, like the Sony music stuff or like a live 2D stuff or like games. They're actually expanding way more from outside of it. And I think that is really cool that like it's not just VTubing either, but other like content creators having to see like, let's just say Eugene Lee Yang from the Try Guys being part of a movie or being part of a series, voice acting. That is just wild for me to see that a content creator that I've been watching on YouTube got into a movie slash series or is now writing a book or script or a movie. And a lot more other content creators are getting into the industry for like actors or music or the likes of that, because people are realizing that the content creators are talented for not only acting, for music, for whatever it is that they do. Maybe having a variety show type of thing that Ludwig does. I really do think that Ludwig can probably host a really amazing like show if they did not do well in like Twitch or streaming. They would probably be a host at something.
Oh yeah, there's
Like,
an
genuinely.
alternate timeline where streaming technology didn't exist, or that Ludwig was born 50 years prior and became an actual late night talk show, or just some other media personality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would literally be, because they are that entertaining. And I like the fact that people outside of VTubing or content creation or any type of thing is realizing that, oh, these entertainers, these internet entertainers are actually entertaining. I actually want to watch them and actually, talk about what they know, what they do, and just have fun and having to talk about it. And it's nice to see the way that it evolved from something of only making a couple minute videos to 10 minutes to then being like a literal craft for people to do that they post on YouTube, and hopefully people would notice at the hard work that they do. That just says a lot from how far it went. It goes the same with like art and music, where it started from beeps and boops to then having an actual like music notes, accompaniment, a musical conductor, and an orchestra, and everything else. And with art being like, oh, it started with a line. Oh, it started out with a shape. Oh, it started out with like having to make anatomy, colors, painting, digital art. It just keeps evolving and evolving and evolving. And I really do want to see the technology of not only just VTubing, but content creation and how far these would go. Though I would say, what I will say right now, I do not like the new update on Twitch.
I think a lot of people do.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like it. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter being like, guys, turn this off right now. And I'm just like, all right, turn it off. Turn it off. I don't want people knocking on my door. I have social anxiety. I don't want to talk to them. Especially people
I
I
have
don't know.
indeed turned knocking off for this stream, so don't worry about that.
Hell yeah, let's go. Turn off all the knocks. We don't want anyone knocking at the door.
But speaking
But that is
of,
something, yeah.
Speaking of all the different, paths for the future and ways that things can grow, I brought up the analogy of spinning plates, and you mentioned all these different hobbies and ones that you want to add on. What would you say is your next plate? That once the move is done and everything, of all of those hobbies, do you already have in mind the one thing that you want to add in first?
Definitely slowly getting back into art. Is something I want to do. There's an art piece that has been like rotting in my folders for how many months now that I need to finish, because I found a new technique that I want to try to put in there, and I have not been doing it because of the other work that I have, which is having to go to meet and greets and having to set up stuff and recording. So
Well, actually, I have
definitely,
a couple of your art pieces here, so I'm going to shift us over for just a moment.
Yay!
Whoop.
Thank you.
1 second, need to scoot you over.
All good, all good.
Whoa, oh my
gosh,
goodness.
you're so yummy.
YouTube Studio. Windows, don't do that. You weren't supposed to do that, Windows.
Oh.
I just accidentally dragged a window in the wrong way and was like, oh, let's just resize everything to be a half screen. No, don't do that.
Oh, goodness.
There we go.
There you go.
Goodness. Sorry about that, folks. But
All good.
like you mentioned, art is something that you have been passionate about for a long time. And the fact that you said of all of your areas of interest that once you have the time, that art is the first thing you want to pick back up. So here we have a wonderful piece of Shuyumino from Niji Sanji. Do you remember when you did this piece?
I did this piece on 2023. At March of 2023. That is from when it was.
So this does predate your debut.
Yeah, it does.
How long have you been doing art, period?
I think for years. I think it's been like, what, 11 years now? I've been doing art for like 11 years. And it is such a leap from what my style was to what it looks like now. So I'm happy with the fact that the style that I have now is like this. The coloring, the line art, and everything else. It is just slowly growing and growing and growing. That I can see how far I've gotten. And I want to keep improving on that to the point that I will be more proud and more happy that I made this art piece. And hopefully having to open commissions if I can. Having to make illustrations, because I think I'm really my expertise, I would say, in art is definitely having to make portraits such as these. I'm good at making portraits. I'm not that great with making full bodies, but I can make portraits and I'm very proud of that. I can make chibis as well, even though I don't have any at the moment that I can show, because they are commissions that I did before, and it might have the thing that you put up as an artist, where you know the name to make sure that no one can like steal it from you and repost it. Yeah, that one. Yeah, so I can't show those, sadly, but I can make chibis. I can make these portraits, and I want to keep improving on making them, and hopefully learn enough that I can go back to doing anatomy and trying out full body type art. So yeah, a lot of things that I want to do.
For folks watching, this is a much higher quality piece. It is a little bit crunched here because it's such a high quality image that to make it fit on the screen, I had to downsize it a fair bit. So ignore the little crunchy bits, especially around the hair. This is actually very, very high quality. Anything that is causing it to look distorted is entirely on my end.
It's all good. It's all good. I think I had this as like an A4. This is an A4. So it's literally as a poster.
Do you remember what made you want to first attempt art? Because you said it's been 11 years, so that doesn't necessarily, sort of making wild guess on ages. That tells me it probably wasn't something that you did as far back as grade school, but that, somewhere along the line, folks in grade school usually have basic art classes, but that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's going to really get into art. Do you recall what made you want to get really into art?
It was actually because of animation. It was because of me watching Disney shows that I got inspired to doing art, because I want to hopefully do the same as this show did to me, where it gave me something to build on, to imagine, to see the world in a different view, and to hopefully bring joy and happiness to other people. And that's what I want to do with my art, that whatever I make, hopefully people can, brighten their day and have fun. Again, it all goes back to me wanting to hopefully make people smile and make them happy, because I want to be a positive influence as much as I can, whether directly or indirectly, to people. And art is one of the things that I saw that can make that happen. And I'm just glad with the fact that it actually did happen that way. But it didn't technically, how do I call it? It started out as me having to try, sketching, of course, sketching sticks, stick figures and stuff, until I wanted to try out watercolor and painting and gouache, and slowly and shifting to traditional ones where I have to line art, color on actual journals and stuff. and then slowly shifting again to digital art, which is right now, as you guys can see on this piece, that I attempted to make RYUWUNA, and I'm just happy with the fact that I managed to do so, surprisingly. The hair was definitely a very atrocious thing to do, but I managed to find an art style where it makes the hair look decent and pretty to me. His banana like yellow golden strip of hair was definitely the most annoying part to do when it comes to line arting and hair, because I'm like, how am I supposed to do this? And I somehow managed to. So sometimes I kind of forget my own techniques, so I just have to remember most of them. But you know, have fun with it and just guess in what you want to do with art sometimes, because it do be like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, it is something that I want to slowly go back into, and hopefully I can stream it again, because I remember having to stream it before. But because of like my desk for when I'm doing art is like at the other side of my desk, because my desk is like an L desk, and my graphic tablet is at the other side, and the PC and like the mic is at the other side. So if okay, this is like a test. If I go over here, people can barely hear me and I have to like keep screaming or something.
Yeah,
So
you can
that is
hear
the reason why.
the slight echo from the
Yeah.
distance.
Yeah, so that's the reason why I think it's hard for me to try to stream anything art related. If I do, I would need to hopefully shift my mic to the other direction as much as I can. So I'm trying to figure that one out, but I really do want to go back to streaming art. I honestly don't care about numbers. It is mostly because I want to do it. I want to show people that this hobby of mine is not going to go away. It will be always a part of me, because it is the first ever dream that I ever had as a kid. And I want to keep making art because it is not something that will leave the person of who I am. Because at the end of the day, as much as I'm happy with the success that I am of being a VTuber, deep down I will always want to be a multimedia artist. I want to make graphic design. I want to make illustrations. I want to make this and that I'm happy and proud with. I used to like make a lot of graphics and stuff, like the panels that I made, the panels that I have currently, and the schedule that I made myself. I made them all from scratch, and I thought like I want to show that I can make these types of things, and if I have enough time, it can also be available for other people to commission me with. So if in any case that I'm confident again in having to do graphics or illustration, I'll probably open up commissions. Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah. And in
Yeah.
terms of figuring placement out for your tablet versus your mic, you know, you are going to be rearranging things pretty soon when you move into a new
Yeah.
place. So of all times to be
Mhm.
able to actually try and workshop how all that will work, you're actually about to be right at the perfect time.
Yep. Soon enough. So maybe by the end of December or at the end of November, we're going to actually have art streams, chat. Trust, eventually. But yeah, definitely a lot of good things has come up with me having to learn art. I met a lot of amazing people because I started out having to do art, and I don't think I will ever like exchange that hobby or that passion of mine for anything else, because if I have not tried out that passion, if I haven't continued that passion, I would not have met the people that I trust wholeheartedly to this day. So I really do owe art a lot of things. So definitely will give it back to what I would like to do for my art tenfold once I have the proper time. I actually plan on doing like art later on, so here's hoping that I can finish that actual piece that I'm doing.
Yeah.
If not, then I will cry. But
And
yeah,
speaking of
we'll
other
let him.
pieces, we have this
Mm-mm.
one of Mysterious. So for this one,
Yeah.
what part of this piece do you feel, I suppose, most proud of? Is there anything here that you think came out really well, or perhaps an element that was really challenging, but you finally found a technique that worked for you and how to make this piece work?
I guess the coloring. The coloring was something that I was very unsure of, because I did not know how to properly do the shadows or do the colors of like the metals. But then I went and like researched so many like things I could possibly do with it that, oh, okay, I can do it like this, I can do it like that. And honestly, the secret to it, it's all just layering, guys. Just layer all of them. You think I kind of blend these things together? No, I just did one stroke, and then for some reason it works.
How much of your
So
technique
it's,
is
yeah. Mm.
how much of your technique is self-taught or researched versus traditional classes and art education?
I would say majority of these are self-taught and having to research. I don't think I've gotten to that point in my semester that they taught us how to actually do color theory, sadly. So I kind of just had to learn it on my own and kind of wing it. So most of the colors that I chose, not only was it because of having to see the art of Mysteries itself, but also having to research how the fan art looks, how lighting works, and how skin color goes with shadows and everything, and what are the colors that complement or contrast it. So definitely a lot of self-learning that I just went through that, of course, I want to still continue on, because I feel like you have to always keep learning new things, because it's fun having to learn new things. It's not fun having to just know what you know. You would always want to keep knowing other things, because it would expand more of what you know, and then you would probably, you know, apply it to yourself or apply it to anything that you want to do. And I think that's really cool. So yeah.
Are there any techniques or areas of art that you feel that you aren't as strong as you want to be right now, that you really want to make a specific effort to get better at?
Ooh, that is definitely traditional watercoloring.
Ooh.
Watercoloring is very, very hard. And to those who know how to watercolor, and to those who know how to literally because it's water. It's water, and it's with colors. And sometimes you cannot control where the water goes. You will have to do your damnedest best to hopefully put it in a place where you can put it. And I think that whoever here is working with watercolor, you are amazing, and you are literally the GOAT, because I cannot do that. A lot of artists cannot do that, because watercolor is a hard medium to control.
It's so ironic that the artistic medium that is one of the ones that is most associated with, you know, being for small children, that, you know, if it's kids doing art, that it's usually going to be crayons or watercolors. And the fact that it is something that I'd say the vast majority of people have done at some point in their childhood, even if they stop doing art very early in life, that they probably did watercoloring at some point. And the fact that it is something that people associate with childhood so much, that ends up being one of the most technically difficult mediums to actually work with, even for adults, is just, it's incredible. And there's a certain irony to it, I suppose.
Yeah, there is. And it is honestly such a surprising thing that as a kid you thought like, oh, it's just having to paint these and that with watercolor, and then as an adult you're just like, how do I do this? I don't know how to do this. I can't even control the water to go to this direction. I can't do anything. This watercolor's hard. It's just such a contrast of ideas and ideals of thinking like, oh, this is fun, to like, this is the most tedious thing that I have to do in my life if you're having to learn or having to have a hobby that is watercolor. And I remember having an entire set of watercoloring gouache, but I never got to use them as much because watercolor is hard. I'm mostly doing digital stuff because of school projects, college projects, and having to find the time to balance them was kind of hard because the amount of presentations and projects that we were piled with was atrocious. And I never got around to actually learning it properly. So if in any case I managed to go back to art slowly, that I'm doing art every now and again, then I will be very, very happy to hopefully pick up watercolor and kind of watch a lot of videos as much as I can to get through watercolor. Because what I can do in paintings is definitely oil painting and gouache painting. And I think gouache is my favorite because gouache reactivates. So if you have water and you want to somehow recolor it, you just have to dip your paintbrush in water and you can just continue on with painting and you can blend it all together if you would like. So gouache is something my favorite because if there are any mistakes, they are very easy to correct because you just have to reapply it with water. And it is also very, very fun having to paint with gouache. I remember doing an impressionism art piece of having to draw a cherry blossom tree, and a lot of like my classmates were like, "Oh my god, you painted that!" I was like, "Yeah, I watched a tutorial." It's all because of the tutorial, but I did it. And they were very, very surprised, and some of them even asked like, "Can I have it? Can I put it up in a frame?" I was like, "Really?
Ooh,
Wanna put this in a frame?"
that's the highest
Yeah.
compliment you can get.
Yeah,
Of just,
it is.
can I have
it is
this?
such
Can
a
I frame it? Of
surprise.
just that's when
Yeah.
you know, like, okay, they're not just saying this to be nice.
Yeah, yeah, they're not saying this to be nice. It is wild. And it's not just that as well, because like as like a kid who grew up only speaking English because that was the first language I was taught, I was labeled as a weird kid because I spoke in English. I spoke in American English where I have this accent that I have right now, and they kept saying that I was like weird because of this accent that I have, or I talk in this weird accent that I have, that it's not my normal language, that it's Filipino, and people barely get to like talk to me because I would reply to them in English, and they don't know what to say, or they don't know what to reply back, and and then to suddenly get into high school, to then going into college, people saying that like, "Oh, you did this amazing art piece, can I have this frame?" That people are actually willing to talk to me, not because of me being weird anymore, but because of the things that I do and the things that I can do, and they rely on me to do these types of reports. It's just so ironic, where people avoided me because of the accent and because of me knowing mostly English, to then relying on me later on because I can't speak English, I can report things, I can say a lot of these things straight in this English accent of mine, of this American accent of mine, and will not stutter at all. Because one of the things that my classmates, and I would say me when I first started out having to report projects or presentations, is having to stutter and speaking like in a straight flow. And I kind of don't like listen to scripts. I don't look at scripts. I mostly improvise everything that I do, because I know deep down, if I have a script, I will forget it at the heat of the moment. So as much as I can, I'll just learn the presentation and then continue on having to talk about what I need to talk about. And then after that, it's all good. And then they saw that I'm really good with that. And whenever I get grouped up with anybody, they immediately say like, "All right, Zeus, you're the one who's going to present because you're good at this. You can talk straight with a straight flow and you don't stutter. So if possible, can you do this?" I'm like, "Sure, I can do it." It's like second nature to me just having to talk in English. So I was just like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And every single time that there's a project that requires me having to speak in English, they default to asking me because I am the most viable option out of everybody. So that is such a ironic thing to happen, where people avoided me to then asking me to do these presentations.
Is the
Yeah.
actual degree in
This
Yaponomics.
My actual degree in Yaponomics worked out, even at a young age. And it's all because I talked to myself a lot when I was a kid, because I was lonely. So as sad as that sounds, it worked out well.
It worked out in the end. It worked out in the end.
It worked out. Hell yeah. But yeah, did you also, I guess, have that type of moment where you don't talk to a lot of people and then out of nowhere they're like, "Oh wait, you can talk really well. Do you want to do this presentation, or can you do this for us because we don't know how to do it?"
To a degree, yes. That I definitely was the one, similar to you, doing group projects, that I would do a lot of the presentations. That I grew up in the US, so everyone was speaking English, and I am very regrettably monolingual. That I took, I think it was 3-4 years of Spanish, and I was fine at it, but I knew it was, frankly, was not my strongest subject, and that was one of the ones that I just kind of dropped. That people who can speak multiple languages, that's a superpower. I mean, I talk a lot. I like to think that I'm pretty good at talking when it comes to English, and even I, goodness knows, just now, I still stumble. I still stutter every so often. English is a dumb language. The more that you look at English mechanically, it is the most illogical, inconsistent language ever. At the very least, Spanish, other Romance languages have consistency. There's a lot of rules, and memorizing those rules can be hard, but the rules, for the most part, are adhered to, and if you can remember those rules, you'll be fine. Spell out through, thorough, thought, though, and each of those has one letter different. The way that you pronounce them is entirely different. And there's, different TikToks and videos that just sort of boil down in 60 seconds and show, okay, the way that the sounds work in English are not logical. And it's frankly one of the hardest languages to learn just because the rules really don't exist. It's just this hodgepodge of a lot of things, and so much of the pronunciation has evolved naturally over time to just ignore any rules that may have once been there a couple centuries ago. And at the very least, I didn't ever really have stage fright. That I was always comfortable being up in front of a crowd and performing, and that it was something I enjoyed. So at the very least, I was able to take on that role for different group projects and be like, okay, cool, fine. Well, if I'm going to be the one presenting, well, that means that I should have that little bit less of work on the prep side because I'm doing this one other thing that nobody else wants to do. So, you can use it as a bit of a bargaining chip at times.
Yeah, that is also true. But it's just so weird that like people are impressed by how people talk. I don't know. It's just weird to me because again, I was shamed and I guess kind of like quote unquote bullied because of it. And then out of nowhere, the moment we got to like presentations and stuff, they then relied on me on doing these types of things. And I was like, wait, what? You want me to do this thing? Cause again, for me, it's like just having to talk normally, but again, having to grow up, having to be scared of having to talk in front of a teacher, it's just very hard to do so until I realize like, you know what? I should not care. I'll just report what I need to report, and hopefully that'll be the end of it. And I think for some reason that impressed a lot of my classmates to then always have me as a default to like explain a lot of things.
People respect
because
confidence.
I'm not the type I don't think it's confidence. More so like I just gave up having to care what people think about me.
But also, I'd like to think that part of it isn't necessarily that they thought you were weird or wanted to bully you or anything, but if it's a literal language barrier, that I'd imagine part of it is fear on their own part of, okay, I don't know how to communicate with her effectively, that if we don't speak the same language, it's gonna be difficult for us to just have a normal conversation, for us to get close, and that, well, if there's however many other people in this class, and I know that all these other people speak the language that I speak effectively, I'm probably going to strike up conversation or ask questions of the people I know I can effectively and easily communicate with. But then as soon as the rules of engagement change and it's okay, you need to present this in English, that suddenly heads turning and was like, well, wait a minute, she's really good at English. And that's why that dynamic sort of changes. But at the same time, that gives you the chance to show, hey, communicating with me that, I am just another person that you're able to hopefully, while preparing for this project or report, be able to actually have a casual conversation or two, and that hopefully that can lead to, at the very least, a more neutral type of interaction with classmates that may have prior to that been distant. That it just, like I said, the fact that it was language-based entirely, that it doesn't sound like it was necessarily behavior-based, but just, well, if they can't communicate, they can't communicate, or if they weren't incentivized to take that leap to communicate in a way that is not inherently their strong suit or that they're not inherently comfortable with, then as soon as they have that nudge, that there you go.
Yeah, it is. I'm really glad that like they kind of stopped having to not know how to talk to me to then trying to talk to me. Of course, I can understand like Filipino, and I can literally like talk back in Filipino because I learned much better now. But as much as I can, I really do like having to say everything in English because it was literally the first language I learned. And as sad as that sounds, with like me not having to learn my native language first, it was because my parents thought that it's something that I needed because they kind of had this premonition or instinct that I would have to talk in English a lot. And you know what? They were right.
In a broader statistical sense, it was the optimal move, and well, here you are.
Yep, it is the optimal move, despite having the kind of sad, kind of growing up aspect of it, because a lot of people didn't know how to talk to me. They then realized that they can talk to me, and they can rely on me for having to do these types of things that they can't do, because, you know, as a group, if you can't do this and you need somebody to help out, they can help out. It's not that hard. You can ask for help. And I'm just very happy that I can manage to talk and present to the point that I'm not afraid, because again, it is not because of having people judge you for what you're talking about or who you're talking about or who you are as a person. It's more so like, what topic are you talking about that they are interested in? They don't care about who you are in any point at all. If you can report it well, then they will give you an A+. And I remember there was this project of ours, and it is literally just talking. Our professor just said, just talk naturally. We just want you to act, but talk naturally. So it's basically like this scenario, it's like a theater thing where you have to talk naturally amongst each other. And out of everybody, I made sure that everybody was as convincing as possible, that we were all just talking naturally. We were all answering naturally, and I made sure that they're comfortable enough to say so, all in English. And we were given a very high praise from that professor. And I was like, yay, let's go, guys, we did it. We did it. And they also said thank you to me because I managed to keep the conversation going to make sure that it is just natural as possible. And I was like, oh, no problem. It's just talking, guys. It's just talking. It's just talking. Yay.
Just talking.
We did it all together. Yeah. Yeah. I guess that's kind of like the, what do you call it, the skill of mine of being a natural talker, because a lot of like my friends that are VTubers or not kept saying that I am very, very good with conversation, and I never picked that up or I never noticed it until they told me, and I was like, am I really? And then I went back to some of my interactions and I was like, oh yeah, kind of am, huh? A little bit. And I realized that talking and having to be natural to talk with anybody is a good strength to have, and I get to meet a lot more people that way because I can naturally get like them into a conversation. And I'm just very surprised at how fast they can also open up, because I slowly open up, they slowly open up, and then we just both talk and we just get comfortable and have fun. We're just talking about the topics that we talk about, and I think that's really, really cool. And I remember Roy as well saying that, like, when we were doing our duo Power Ranger stuff without Kane, they were scared that without Kane to yap as well, because we all bounce off each other. Roy was scared that, like, we won't bounce off each other really well. So he was prepared to talk at me like I'm a wall. He was prepared to talk like I'm a wall. And then when I kept bouncing off with him as much as I can, without even realizing that he had that thought, he was like, oh wait, you're talking about the topic that I like. You're actually talking to me. You're actually engaging with me. Oh my gosh, we can actually get this collaboration to be 4 hours. And actually did became 4 hours. He thought that it was only gonna be like 2 hours, but then like, oh, double that. Yeah, sure.
Oh, Roy,
So,
ye of little
yeah.
faith.
Ye have little faith. They have doubted me once again. But remember, I am indeed the Yaponomics, the professor of Yaponomics. I will indeed keep yapping just because I want to.
You're certainly making my job as a host easy, I'll say that.
I'm glad I can make it a little bit easy. Let's go. I just like talking. It's just fun having to talk with people, because not only do I get to know a person's opinion, but we also get to juggle our own opinions and get to like that resolution of like having to meet halfway. I think that's really, really cool. And not
Yeah.
only do you get to understand another person, but you get to be close with another person and make them comfortable because you get to talk about this type of conversation, and maybe you get to talk about their interests that they didn't know that you were interested in, and now both of you talk about it. Like yesterday when we were talking about Power Rangers, Roy also wanted to hop on in with having to talk about Monster Hunter with me and Kane because me and Kane play Monster Hunter and they want to try it out. And we're probably going to settle that collab sooner or later because I asked last night, hey, when do you want to do that? I would want to do that soon enough. And I can't wait to reply to them and hopefully give them a proper date. But I have to double check with Kane first and whether they're free on certain days so we can have that collab soon. And not just that, but like me and Roy having to talk about Final Fantasy and Kane not knowing much about Final Fantasy and me and Roy having to convince them to try and play Final Fantasy because it is a really, really good game. I highly recommend it if you're into story-driven games. Granted, it is layers upon layers upon layers of story and information that if you did not play Crisis Core or the original, you would not get what the story is about. So I highly recommend kind of playing Crisis Core first, but if you want to play the OG, that works out too. But it is a really, really good game. Story-driven, the characters are amazing, and I love the Final Fantasy series, specifically 10, because that is the one that I grew up with, and it is such an amazing story. I remember the ending still, and I hate the fact that Roy told me that there was a third-parter where Yuna and Titus broke up. That is not real to me. That is not in the West, so it's not real to me. It is
Nope, never
them having a
happened.
happy ending. Never happened, exactly. 10-2 is the final ending. There is no other epilogue. That is the epilogue. All right, moving on.
Yes. I do actually have the third piece that you shared with me here. This one is of Narissa Ravencroft. How difficult or easy was it to add the Raven? Because the other two were just only humans, but you have the animal here. So is drawing animals a strong suit? Was it something you were trying for the first time? Just in general for animals, is that something that you have a lot of experience with in art?
I would say I'm not that well versed with drawing animals, but I would say with the help of references and I would say the anatomy of the bird and what the anatomy of birds are, it did help me with having to make it the way it is, but having to color and kind of replicate what feathers look like in digital art is very hard to do. So that's something I would want to learn a lot more. And I would say one of the hardest things that I did on Narissa's piece was the accessories, the moon, and the frills on their shoulders. The thing, the black, what I forgot what that is. The fur. There you go. The fur on there. Yes.
I love how
it
the
was
moon
very hard.
came out. That
Thank you.
that's the part of the picture that looks the most quote unquote drawn, but the way that you did the texture, I think, just pops so nicely. And that
Thank you.
since Narissa is already animated, that having something that looks a bit more animated, drawn, is going to be much more natural. It's not like you have this photorealistic piece and then a slightly cartoonish moon, but that you're already leaning in that direction just by simple virtue of it being a VTuber. And then to add that little bit, I'm not sure if that was necessarily the intent, but I noticed when you first sent me this piece, I was just, my eyes immediately were drew to the moon, the way that it has that texture, and that you included so much detail on it, that you have the different shades, but also just the different little cracks and craters, and then the way that it has, it almost looks like a sponge texture around the actual border of it.
I would say it's all because of the brushes. All I did was splash, 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 and for some reason it worked out.
Yeah, but still, that there is creativity in the choice of which tool, which brush you use.
It is definitely a lot of people think that it is like a lot of complicated things when it comes to drawing, when in reality it's just layers upon layers and just having to top it all off, and then a little bit of blending here and there, a little bit of having to use a certain brush to make it look a certain way, or having a certain texture make it look a certain way. And it's easy the moment you get to the technical point of art, and the moment you understand the basic mechanics, then later on everything will just be easy or second nature to you. And I just really think that that's really cool. In any other hobby that you try out, where if it's gaming or if it's music or if it's art, the more that you get into it, the more that you learn that yeah, this is kind of easy. This is easy to do. This is something that anyone can try out and immediately pick up because it is that easy. And it's just having to learn the small basics and then having to build upon that, whether with more lessons from your art teacher, or if you're going to an art school, from your art schools, I guess, or having to be self-taught. And I think that says a lot of, I would say, a lot of people and in what they do, because if they're dedicated and they're passionate, they will continue to keep working and working to improve whatever they want to improve. And I think that's really, really cool that a lot of people kept doing that, to keep going up and beyond, to, you know, to always do better. Because I feel like as people, we always want to keep doing better. We're not satisfied until we reach the point of like, yeah, this is the peak for me. This is like a good way to like stop, because technically we don't have a proper stop until I think we find whatever like that peak of ours is. And for me, I still don't know what it is, but it is a learning experience that we get to all go through. And yeah, I guess for me, just having to see whether my art takes up, I guess, in a big piece or something like that, in a big exhibition, or maybe getting featured somewhere, or being noticed by a VTuber that I that I look up to, or having to do anything else, or like again with me having to yap, if I can somehow entertain and make sure that I can do what I do and enjoy what I do, and thinking that like I can go far with this to the point that like I managed to reach the peak of it. That'd be really, really cool. Again, Noble, as you said, when my first subathon happened, I just yapped for 4 hours. Because I just can. I know why, but I just can.
What would you say is your dream goal for art? Whether it would be, you know, to have your work displayed in a specific gallery, or to work with a given IP, or to have your piece used on a billboard, or for a movie poster, or on, you know, insert website here. Is there a dream of, you know, what would the project be of, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm getting to do this. This is something I've always wanted to be able to do.
I guess it would technically be a collaboration with a company or with an anime that I like. Let's just say One Piece. If I can somehow, and they notice my art to be good, that they want to sponsor or get my art involved, and they want to see how I draw these characters in a way that they want, then I think that would be like the peak of my career. I'll be like, all right, I'm done. I did it. I reached the peak of my career. I have collaborated with Toei and One Piece, that they have noticed me and liked my art, and that is all. That's it. I can die happy now. Yeah, hopefully, maybe one day. Who knows?
Yeah, they do either alternate art covers of things, or different collaborations, or I'm pretty sure at this point that they've done an actual One Piece gallery, and I'm assuming most of that's going to be Oda's art, but that there's so much One Piece media that having different variants or different collaborators, or just for a promotional piece, that it's certainly an ambitious goal, certainly not an impossible one.
Hopefully, maybe one day. Because I think like having these goals, whether they're impossible or not, just having these goals where you can really, really push yourself to motivate yourself, it will eventually happen. Like maybe not one-to-one, but it will happen at some case. Like again, I was delusional, thinking like, I'm gonna be a VTuber. I'm gonna be a very, very good VTuber. I was delusional enough, and then here I am. The delusion got me here.
Oops, it went right.
It went right. It went right, and it went above and beyond. I was like, wait, I didn't remember being this delusional. Wait, this is real life? Oh no. I'm actually a VTuber. I'm actually a corporate VTuber. That's weird. The copium work. Yeah, the copium work. The copium and being delusional worked out, and here I am. So, be delusional, chat. It helped out. Keep dreaming. Yeah, keep dreaming. Keep being delusional and having to do your best. Hell yeah.
And similar to art, that, like you said, it's all about taking certain skills and then just sort of stacking them on top of each other, refining, iterating, learning one new piece at a time, one new skill at a time, one new experience at a time. And that's, in general, just how life works. It doesn't matter if it's visual art, if it's music, if it's some other creative or academic discipline, that you don't suddenly just start, with coding. You don't start with everything that you learn. All right, what is a loop or what is a variable? When you're doing something with mechanical engineering, you learn, all right, this is how gears work, or this is how electricity works. For sound, you learn how to play a scale, and then you learn how to play a simple piece. And then you learn about harmonies, and that you have those different skills, and that the first time you play whatever instrument you play, or the first time you sing, you're not going to be incredible. You might be okay, that there's certainly some level of natural talent that can play into any given discipline, but that the people that end up being just the top of a given field are the ones that actually spend time, and the ones that are able to actually iterate and practice, and that the way people practice and the amount of time that it takes can certainly vary, but that you have to actually, unironically, folks, you have to get good.
Yep. Get good. Get good and keep improving, because if you don't keep improving, then your work will stay the same as always. Same goes with anything at all. Whether you want to try to learn music or art or content creation or knitting or embroidery, keep improving. Keep having to learn techniques and keep having to always push yourself to always do better. Because again, if you don't do better, you won't see how much the progress will go and how much it'll improve. And I would say having to always push yourself can say whether your limits are this or you can go beyond it. And I would like to think that everyone is able to go beyond their limit and keeping to push that limit further and further and further until they're satisfied with the limit that they put themselves, and I guess just be happy with the work that they put out. I wanna always do my best to make sure that every content that I put out, I can always be proud of. I wanna shift my content to hopefully getting to more gaming stuff if I can, or to more Monster Hunter stuff if I can, because as somebody who loves Monster Hunter, and while it's coming out sooner or later, and a lot of people of mine, a lot of people that are my friends are willing to hop on and play Monster Hunter with me, is I think such a nice feeling that the game that my friends introduced me like a few years ago prior is now one of the games that I enjoy playing on stream. And not only that, but because of how much replayability that Monster Hunter has, that I can just keep going, I can just keep trying out new things, I can learn a weapon from scratch and play with other hunters, play with my community, and we all just have fun and keep on growing and learning new things all together. I think it's really cool. And hopefully that I can actually do a lot more games offline and like on stream. Because I think the good thing about having, I think, a niche on stream is definitely having a lot more time with a game that you love, but also you get to have a lot of time for other games off stream, and you won't consider them to be put on your stream if you think that like you want to play this by yourself. And I think that's really nice that I get to slowly realize that I don't need to always have a stream of this video game that I want to play. I can play this offline because sometimes I really just want to get immersed in the story that I don't want to talk. I just want to listen and be attentive to it and not talk over it and just have fun with it, like when I did when I was very, very young. So yeah, it's a good positive change that I recently realized. So that's good. Getting to it. Yeah.
And that, for you more recently, that has been Final Fantasy VII, that over the course of your break, that you just dove headfirst into that and let yourself, like you said, just become immersed, enjoy the story.
Yeah.
Is there a game that you have that is sort of next on that list of, okay, this is one I don't want to do on stream, this is one I want to have just for myself for when you finish Final Fantasy VII?
I already finished Final Fantasy VII. Took me 31 hours. I want to play Crisis Core next. After Crisis Core, I plan on playing Rebirth. And once I finish with that, I plan on excuse me. I plan on finishing, well, starting again and finishing Final Fantasy 15 because I did not get to finish 15. And after 15, I plan on playing 16, and then I plan on playing other games that I have on my display case cabinet. Because I have so many that I did not have enough time to play because of the work hours that I was putting in before. So now that I have enough time, because I am making enough time for myself, that I can play these games on times when I can. I plan on actually putting it in my calendar of like, this is the day where I'm gonna play it on this set amount of hours, and then once I'm done, I can probably rest up or do other things that I want to do. But I plan on having to have dedicated days where I want to do these and that and this and that. Again, slowly slotting in those little time slots of games I want to play, arts I want to do, and other things I want to slot in. So yeah, one plate at a time.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like for the time being that you will definitely be keeping yourself occupied with Final Fantasy as sort of the series that you have for yourself off stream, because goodness knows Final Fantasy games are not short ones, and that with all the different ones that you just listed, that will keep you occupied for a good while.
It will. I'm honestly very, very happy with the fact that I was blessed enough with having so many people to support me, and they want to also give me a lot of presents. Like literally a couple days ago, a lot of people went and like threw gifts at me on my throne, and I was like, guys, please look after your funds. I don't want anybody here to be broke. And they out of nowhere started funding the laptop. I was like, please, it's like $1,000. I don't want you to throw that much money, please. I'm glad that they actually did stop, because again, as much as any other content creator love getting your support, I'm sure every single one of the content creator that does not want anyone here to be broke, because it feels bad to be broke. I went through financial issues myself, and it's not nice. It is not healthy mentally, physically, and emotionally. So I really do recommend having to save as much as you can for yourself. Treat yourself with a lot of good things, because honestly, a lot of people deserve having to, buy themselves good things. Because I know that with the money that I've been getting from my community, all of it has just been going to the house. So when I say that I'm broke, I really do mean it, because everything that I put out is for the house, and I think the only funds that I get is like $100. That's my allowance every month, like $100. Because I want to make sure that everything that I put out is for the house, because that is one of my life goals, is to hopefully be a homeowner, and I'm glad that it is happening sooner than later. So, yay! Yeah!
And speaking of time, I do know we are starting to run short on time, and I have just a couple last questions that I ask all my guests. And the first is, what are your goals for the rest of 2024? That obviously there's the move, there's a lot of different projects and ideas that you've mentioned, but is there anything specifically, near the top of your list of, okay, I really want to make sure that I get this done by the end of the year, whether it be a particular project, maybe there's one more event that, after nice cool down that you want to accomplish, or maybe there's just some benchmark for yourself, whether it be streaming or outside of streaming, that you want to accomplish. And I will say that finishing the move into the new house doesn't count.
Okay. Then I would say getting to, if in any case it happens, 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're 10,000 away, so if somehow that happens before the end of 2024, I would be very, very happy. And getting to debut my 2.0, which is hopefully going to be at December, if things go smoothly. So here's hoping at December, at my birthday, which is at December 20th. It will be debuted soon, along with like a music cover that I plan on doing. And getting to maybe 50,000 followers in Twitch too, I guess, if that ever happens. So those are, I guess, my goals for before the end of 2024 at least. If that happens, cool. If that doesn't, that's okay too. There's always next time. There's always next year.
Well, I certainly think that you're on the right trajectory for those goals, so... And like you said, even if not, then another time in the future. And for being just about a year in, that, like you said, sometimes it takes others telling you the thing for you to realize the thing. And that, for being just about a year in, You're doing pretty darn well, Zeus, and that I'm very much looking forward to seeing where you end up going from here. I'm so excited that you've been able to have so much success, but also so much learning in this first year that some folks, they don't actually have their epiphany moment of how to prevent burnout or realizing that they are approaching burnout until they might be on the edge of burnout for months and months, or that they could be having unhealthy habits for content creation that are held for multiple years. And the fact that you realized it less than a year in, took time off, are already back and already taking active measures to make sure that you don't burn out in under a year's time, you're speedrunning this. That's very efficient. That if you're able to do this in year one and figure out those pieces of what works best for you, that means that years 2 and beyond are going to be even better.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I would say I would not have realized it without the friends that told me that I needed to definitely take a break off. And if it weren't for them, and if it weren't for my community as well, that literally gaslit me to taking a break.
Good job, chat.
Good job, chat. Thank you for gaslighting me to doing it. Keep doing it. Keep doing the gaslighting when it comes to my health and taking breaks. I appreciate that. But yeah, if it weren't for them, I would not have pushed myself to actually take a break and realize that, oh yeah, I definitely do needed that break. Because if I didn't, then I feel as though I would have been burnt out by at this point, and I would have taken a way longer of a break before anything else. So I'm just very glad that there are so many people pushing me to always look after myself in any case that I forget to look after myself. And I think I'm very lucky with the fact that I have so many people that really, really do look out for me. And sincerely, genuinely, to everybody who is watching or listening to this, and to those who are currently here right now, I really, really appreciate it. As well, thank you as well, Vtuber Talk, for having to listen to this VTuber here just yapping about their day and whatever they want to yap about. Because, again, it means a lot just having to be heard in a space of so many voices and characters of VTubers. And it's just amazing that I get to be part of any stream at all, of being invited to anything at all. So I don't know. As somebody who doesn't think that I would get any far at all at what I'm doing, it is such a surprise that is very, very like open to me that this is happening, that this is all going well, and it's really, really great. And I want to make sure that I want to keep doing this for a long, long while, to the point that I don't I'm comfortable enough to leave. And I know that, this is the end of the chapter of what I do. And, of course, I have to make sure that I have to look out for myself and hopefully earn for that eye surgery sooner or later. I hope so.
Another goal
crossed.
for sure. And that, 1 year in already and homeowner, that I think we'll be able to take care of those eyes.
I sure hope so, because, again, I don't actually want to become blind, because the last time my doctor told me that, my eye exam was like, hey, your eyes are kind of getting screwed. You might need to get some surgery if you plan on fixing it. I was like, oh no. Oh gosh.
Well, hey, at least you
hoping.
know
Yeah.
about that. Better to know that, and that, at least the eye doctor said, hey, you should get surgery, not, oh, we don't know how to address this. That, we have the solution, and that just need to be able to implement that solution. And I'm pretty sure that you'll end up being able to do that. My guess is also probably sooner than you guess. But
I honestly don't know, because again, it's expensive. Surgery itself is expensive, and it's to make sure that both eyes get get treated. But if in any case it does happen, surprisingly at a fast pace, because as you said, because of the house being done at a fast pace, I would be very, very grateful. But again, as much as I am happy with the support that I'm getting, please look after your own finances. I don't want anyone here
support
to feel
responsibly,
obligated.
chat.
Yeah. Support responsibly. Do not feel obligated at all to literally throw contributions or donations or anything to any streamer, to me, or to anyone at all, because again, if you are not looking great financially, do not force yourself. Having to be there, having to follow, having to share your favorite streamer's stream is honestly a good
Viewers can
enough
burn
thing.
out too.
Yeah, exactly. That alone is already support enough. Having to give the extra step of having to subscribe, donate, cheer, anything like that. That is an extra step, and it is exactly what it is. Just an extra step. It is not a necessity. It is not a need. It is not an obligation. It is if you want to do it, that's okay. But remember, look after your own finances, your credit card, your debit card, or anything like that. Make sure you're not broke, because if you are, I would feel bad, and I would try to find a way to give that money back. So, please look after yourselves, and thank you.
But at the same time,
Yeah.
do give yourself an amount of credit for success, and that, goodness knows, the pleasure is all mine for you being here tonight, Zeus. That I know you're
Thank
very,
you.
very busy, and that for all the different things that you have going on, for all the plates you have spinning and will eventually be spinning, the fact that you were willing to take out even a small bit of time to talk with me, that VTuber Talk literally does not exist without the guests. It is only through the generosity of people with the most valuable resource ever, time, that this channel and that this show exists. So thank you so much for taking that bit of time out. It means a lot. Like I said, the show doesn't exist without the guests. It simply doesn't. I painted myself into a corner. I named my channel this way. I inherently built my content this way. So thank you.
No, thank you. I honestly, I want to keep having to collaborate with a lot of people. And honestly, I don't care about their size or their numbers. I'm just here because I just want to be here. I want to talk, I want to yap, and I want to make good connections with a lot of people. Hopefully make friends, and yeah, just have fun. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have fun with the job that you're doing, then is it really a good job, Yeah.
And the last question that I
So
ask all
thank
my
you.
guests is, what does being a VTuber mean to you? And that's not what does it mean to be a VTuber, but different people get different things from VTubing, that it represents something different in their lives. That some people have said being a VTuber lets me get in touch with my inner child, or it lets me be someone that I can't be in real life. I've had others say it's a tool in my tool belt as an entertainer, that I think my model is cool. I don't necessarily feel a deep emotional connection to it, but that being a VTuber lets me do creative things, and that is fulfilling in a deep sense. And others have said, just it lets me be me, or it's just fun. That there are simple answers, there are complex answers, there are deeply emotional answers, there are one-liner answers. So for you, Zeus, what does being a VTuber mean to you?
For me, it is definitely making people happy. It always leads back for me to keep having to be that positive corner of the space, and whether people would want to stay in that space. And I would always want to be that, because people that I watched, or the shows that I watched, brought me so much joy, happiness, and inspiration, and a lot of things in my life because of those shows and content creators. Again, because of Jacksepticeye, because of Markiplier, because of all the other content creators that I talked about. If not for them, I would not have had this type of mentality, or this type of goal of just wanting to always keep people happy, or make them happy, or brighten their day. Because that little tiny thing that I get to do, where if I can make someone smile, laugh, or have fun in my streams, that is always going to be the cherry on top of everything that I do. Because that is the reason why I want to keep doing it. That's the reason why I want to do art. That's the reason why I want to do anything at all. If I can make the friends that I have, the family that I have, the people that I cherish happy, and always thinking the good and positive, and I somehow strive and push them to also go to do things that they haven't done. I think that is my reason of being a VTuber, and I think it will continue to be my reason to not only being a VTuber, but also to being the person that who I am. I would always want to be the positive, I guess, outlook, or the silver lining. I want to be the silver lining of people's lives in a way like that. I want to hopefully help them shape what their next move or next action will be, whether directly or indirectly, and hopefully it's positive. Because again, all of my streams that I do are kind of just having fun and having to play games that I like, and having to talk about the things that I like, or maybe if I want to rant about something, that works out too. And I just basically talk about my own opinions, and hopefully I can also see in my chat that there are people with similar or different opinions, and we can just talk about it. it's having to, it's like a give and take type of thing where I get to learn something about you, you learn something about me, and it just rolls around forever and ever and ever. And I think that's really nice because
Yeah.
not only do I grow, but I also grow with my community. And I think that's really, really cool that we all grow into this like amazing person later down the line. And I do hope that I can keep being better, making better content, and having to always put myself first at the end of it all while making good content. So
Mm.
yeah,
I always
that's it
ask,
for me.
yeah,
Mm.
I always ask that at the end of the show because while I never know exactly how someone will answer, the answers always make sense. And the concept of positivity being a positive influence and simply having fun is something that has come up multiple times over the past couple hours. That it's very clear that your motivation and your approach to things is very much just based in helping people smile and creating a good environment and good memories for the viewers and for yourself. And I think you're doing an incredible job with that. And I think you're going to be making some awesome memories this weekend at PowerMorphicon. You're going to be making even more memories in your new home and hopefully for many, many years to come in VTubing, in art, in music, and anything else that you decide to put your mind to. So again, thank you so much. I do actually have one last question, and that's who would you like us to raid?
Oh,
While she looks around
we
for that,
can
thank you.
probably raid into Roy.
Oh,
Kiato.
perfect.
They're currently live. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. That's very
They're
convenient.
playing Among Us.
Ooh, very fun. Well,
Yay.
thank you to Natsuki and Defiant Usage 64 for the follows. Really appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone who has tuned in, whether you were here at the start of the stream, whether you found yourself here at some point in time halfway. I just cannot thank you enough for taking time out of your day to support me, to support Zeus, and to support folks in general. If for some crazy reason you aren't already following Zeus, please be sure to do so. I have the links down in the channel panels if you're live on Twitch, and it'll be in the video description on YouTube. Hi, YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. I've actually finally been getting off my butt and uploading the past VODs that I didn't realize I had a 6-month backlog of. Oops.
Yay.
But they're happening. I've been doing like one a day, and I took off for the weekend, but have been getting things back up, and am now only like 3 or 4 behind as opposed to 15 behind. Oops.
Oh God. Oh goodness. You definitely need to put that
We're
on.
getting there though. So this should
Yeah,
hopefully be up without too much delay. And if you're interested in following me and seeing more shows like this, I usually stream about once a week. These shows aren't consistently scheduled because I try to schedule around the guest. But if you want to follow me, it's just at Vtuber Talk here on Twitch and Twitter. And the VODs do always end up on YouTube one way or another. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to let Roy know that Zeus sent you all. Have a great rest of your day. To everybody in chat, have a great rest of your day, Zeus. Thank you, the Noble Narwhal, for the follow. Hope you had a wonderful time this evening. You all take care of yourselves, and I will see you all next time. Bye!